Welcome to Life, Laughter, Divorce, episode 36. I am your host, Leanne Linsky.
And I'm the boyfriend.
And we are back. While you are tuning in on iTunes and Stitcher, be sure to rate, review, and subscribe. And while you're on the internet, if you haven't already, you should definitely check out lifelaughterdivorce.com because our retail shop is now open.
Yay!
Woo-hoo!
What are we selling?
We are selling divorce-themed products for your self-care.
I think of them as relationship-themed products.
Okay, relationship-themed products. They are relationship-themed products. We have our own line of candles and soaps. Our soaps are all natural. They're vegetable glycerin with pink Himalayan salt or with goat's milk and essential oils. So you want to take a look. We have some.
They're pretty fancy.
Yeah, they are pretty. They're really actually very nice. And then if you have sensitive skin, you want to check them out because they're very good for you. And our candles are 100% beeswax candles with essential oil scents, or we have a couple of choices for soy candles if you're into soy. So take a look at lifelaughterdivorce.com and click on the retail therapy button.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty exciting. We had a nice launch party last weekend.
A lot of people showed up, had a really good afternoon. And,
yep. Forgot to take pictures until we were about to leave. We had a really nice time.
But there are pictures posted on our Instagram page, right?
There are. Yes.
Yeah.
There are. You know what else is on our Instagram page? We have the question of the week.
Really?
Yes. And we promised last week that we would finally play catch up because back in episode 32, we talked about the Philly naked bike ride.
Oh, yes.
Remember that?
Yes.
With Olivia. And one of our question of the week was, let me tell you exactly how we phrased it. If your family had suggested that you were about to marry the wrong person, would you have listened?
So what did we get? What did we hear?
All right. Well, we have a few responses here. So Queen Butterfly, yes, I would have never married him. Yes, I would never have married him. All right. And then She's a Ray of Sun. Nope. I thought he was the love of my life. I do wish they would have shared how hard marriage is and not that you have to work on it every day. Unfortunately, it takes two to work on it, not one. Let's see. K-Diva 23? Nope. Reenie Girl 7? I knew I was marrying the wrong person and I did it. It's hard to admit it. Frown face. Mom is all right? Damn it, I did not. And Laura, the divorce strategist? Nope, I was 19.
So a lot of them are saying they would not have listened to their family if they asked them or mentioned it to them. Wow.
Then the one person who said they would have listened, their family didn't tell them anything. I don't think I would have listened. In fact, I'm sure I wouldn't have. Would you?
I've never been married, so but I'll put it this way. I have dated people that I think families are interesting because they'll let it go on for a short amount of time, and whether that's a few months or whatever, and they won't say anything.
Yeah.
And then eventually they'll be like, "Are you really sure that's the person for you? We don't know if we like her." and then at that point, I think it's more like planting a seed in my head. Like, okay, some people don't like her. I'm going to keep dating her and try to make this work. And then it's like that seed eventually grows, and you're like, all right, time to move on. This isn't going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Planting a seed is good for families to do, but we don't always water it.
Not necessarily, but some of the seeds they're like weeds. They grow anyways.
All right. Well, then we have a question of the week from episode 35 with Nefertiri Plessy, which was just last week. And our question was, single parents, how do you make time for yourselves? And we had a few single parents shout out, Love Beyond Limits, 13. They said, just do it. Then I am, say I, boy. He wrote, flame, 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 flame. This is dope. Shoot me a follow. I think that was spam also.
Nice.
But I just like saying flame, flame, flame. I think you meant hot, hot, hot. Heart legal. You don't. Kids first always. So they're saying you don't make time for yourself.
Wow.
Yeah. Good vibes promoter. Sweet smiley face. So I don't know about good vibes promoter. Maybe they're really busy with their kids. So one person says you just do it, and the other person says you don't. Kids first always.
Wow.
So thanks, you guys. Thanks, Love Beyond Limits 13. Thanks, Heart Legal. Thanks, Good Vibe Promoter. Mom is all right. Let me go back to our other one. I told him I was going to give him some shout outs here. K-Diva 23, She's a Ray of Sun, Queen Butterfly, and Laura the Divorce Strategist. So thanks, everybody, for giving us some feedback there. We love hearing from you. And yeah, boyfriend, have you dated a very traditional woman in the past?
It's interesting now that I'm a little older and I look back on it. When I was younger and dating younger women, yeah, I think they have no, let me restate that. The women I dated had a specific agenda. An agenda is probably the wrong word to use there, but a timeline based upon what they felt were societal norms or family traditions. And I'll be specific. It's basically you're in college. Once you finish college, we get married. We're married for a year or two. And by the time I'm this age, I have my first kid and we get our house and has it all planned out. And I'm not against planning. Planning is good to some extent, but you can't, from my perspective, at least how I live my life, is you can't plan every detail and all big events of your life all the time. You just have to let it happen. And that makes life, at least for me, a little more interesting. And the tradition, again, following societal norms is not necessarily how I live my life. Not completely, at least. So I don't know. Yeah, I've dated traditional women and like uber traditional women. And I don't know if that's just the way they are. And I'm digging myself a hole.
Why?
But that's how they are. And I don't think I fit that exactly.
Right.
I've went a different path in my life.
So
how about you?
Well,
you did follow the traditional role.
I did. And I'm thinking...
Because you finished college, you got married.
And then I was planning on having children and tried having children, and that didn't happen and that didn't work out. And I'm thinking back, and I can understand exactly what you're saying, because I feel like in my mind, for some reason, it just seemed like this isn't what I have to do. This just seems like the next thing anyone would do, because that's what I grew up seeing. This is the natural flow of a relationship. This is natural progression. So that's all I knew.
Not even of a relationship, but of a life.
Right.
Like you go to school, you get a job, or you don't even go to school. It's not everyone. You finish whatever you're doing, you get a job, you get a wife, you get a kid, or you get a spouse you get a kid. And you move on. Yeah.
Right. You raise those children, you live in the same house for 30 years and retire. Which obviously a lot of those things don't work in today's society for many reasons. Like, years ago you had the same job for many years. Not so much today. And a lot of women are choosing to have children way later in life. Things are
a lot
just
more women are working and are college educated, and that changes the societal norms, the traditions of culture that have been around for a long time. Which
is interesting, because although all of those factors have changed, for some reason, I don't think that our mindset on what a relationship has changed at the same speed as other things have in society.
Yeah, it's stuck with the traditions versus the way our roles have changed in society.
Correct.
Yep.
And I think that as a result of that...
that's why we have more divorces.
That's why we have more divorces, because the relationship factor hasn't changed in positive correlation with everything else. It's kind of stuck in its own space. And yeah, it would be crazy to think that relationships would stay okay and be safe.
Would maintain a traditional structure as they did before when lives around us have changed.
Correct.
People, the whole thing with the jobs is interesting. You don't have a job for 30 years anymore. you have a job for 5 or 10 years, you get a new job, and then you change another job or whatever. I've changed jobs a lot over the past 5 or 10 years, and that's not a bad thing. It's just the way careers are going, the directions of careers are going today, which means you have to be mobile, which means you have to move and you have to change.
And you
your
have to
life
have
around.
2 cars, and you have to have this, and you have, it changes so much. And it also, I think, not only changes things on the outside as we see it, but also on the inside and with our mindset and what our life's purpose is and how we feel about
There's
ourselves.
a purpose?
And what our, sometimes, no, I think there is a life purpose. And I think also it changes our confidence level and where we feel we are. And if everybody else is out doing other things and suddenly we find ourselves in a role where we're staying home, we feel significantly different all of a sudden compared to what our measuring shtick has changed.
Well, I'm going to go back to the purpose thing.
And
The purpose thing is interesting.
stick.
Yeah, I heard you. But I'm going back to the purpose thing. I think that's interesting because that's saying that you have a goal in your life or that you have one goal for your life.
Mhm.
And there are people out there that don't necessarily see it that way. I live for, or not me personally, but people think that they live for their everyday experience and they try to get out and experience as much as they can. And that's what they want their life to be.
You're right. And there are some people who just live for today's experiences and that is their purpose. So I guess it all comes down to perspective, which what I found was fascinating about this week's guest, because she is unlike any guest that we've had so far. Our guest this week is going by Anonymous, but she has been married 3 times over...
That's new. We haven't had one of those. We haven't had a person who's been on the show as a 3-time divorcee.
No,
right?
we have not.
Wow.
We've had a couple with 3 divorces between them. And we've had people with 2 divorces like myself. So yeah, and what I found interesting too is that she looks at each one of them as a separate experience and then builds upon that as her life moves forward. So I think she explains it best. So I'd like to introduce our next guest, a 3-time divorcee, Anonymous, without further ado. Welcome to Life, Laughter, Divorce podcast.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Bright and early.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, welcome. We're excited to have you here. I think you're the first person, our first guest on the podcast to have been married 3 times.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Am I really that exceptional?
You.
Yes, you
Yes,
are.
you are.
I guess I am. Yike.
Yeah. And you're not married now, right?
No, I'm not.
And how long have you been single?
I've been divorced since 2003, so like 14 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so
it's a long
you're
time.
about due.
Yeah, I'm just about due. What's going on with
That's
this?
what you're saying too, because you've been divorced about that long or a little longer.
Longer.
Than that. Yeah.
Longer than
Yeah,
that.
it's been 19 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of strange, isn't it? Yeah.
It's very strange.
Yeah,
It's like, not getting up and having breakfast.
I know. I know.
The boyfriend's like that.
Yeah,
Made no
whatever.
sense.
Never been married. These 2 have both been married a total of 5 times amongst each other.
Oh, my God.
So we've got you covered, boyfriend.
Yeah,
yeah. Thanks.
You're good.
We're scoring pretty well.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, you're losing this game.
That's fine.
So let's see. Why don't we start back at the beginning? Your first husband. How did you guys meet?
Oh, God, that was kind of very circumstantial. My brother, who at the time was not driving, he was like, I was like maybe 20. And my brother he's 3 years younger. So he was 17 at the time, not driving, in France, of course. And he had a plan with a girl. And so he asked me to drive him to this popular ballroom. And it was a Sunday night, and I'm like, I'm not going to take you out there. It's Sunday. I have to work tomorrow. Oh, come on, take me. So, I put the jeans on and up I went. And this is how I met my first husband. Yeah, that night.
Wow.
Very circumstantial.
So then you guys dated, you got married.
Yeah, we dated for a couple years, and then we got married. I was 22, and he was 24. And, he's kind of exciting guy. He was a basketball player. So he was traveling, and, I was a country girl. So he was like, hey, this is a pretty good deal. Right?
Yeah.
So this is how it started. Yeah.
So he was a French basketball player?
He was a French basketball player, yeah. At the time.
Basketball is big in France.
Well,
Yeah.
it was just a lot of fun. I mean,
Yeah.
until I found out that, I was the wife of that guy.
Mm.
I had no name, right?
Oh.
This is how it goes.
Because he was like a celebrity.
Well, it was pretty high up there, but then, suddenly I was, fading away,
Oh.
which is not really my style, right?
Right.
So you felt like you lost your identity?
Totally,
Yeah.
yeah. And then, one morning it was really funny. Well, not funny at the time, but I was maybe like 6 months in or something. We had moved to the west coast of France, by the ocean. And he was gone for a tournament. I don't know where. I can't remember. I don't even know why I didn't go. But anyway, I was ironing some clothes. What funny. And then I was looking. Yeah, I was looking at myself it was like a big mirror, and I was looking at myself, and I'm like, oh my God, what the hell am I doing here? If that's how it ended. Just
Really?
like that.
Really?
Yeah. It was like a revelation. I'm like, oh my God, what the hell am I doing here? So when he came back, I said, I don't think this is working for me. And he's like, what?
Yeah, he wasn't expecting it.
No, of course not. Of course not. We just
Wow.
had gotten married like 6 months before.
Huh. So you had this revelation, and then, so did he try to keep you there? Did you just leave?
Well, he tried, and, I loved the guy. He was really a fun guy. But I had to go with what I needed, and he was definitely not that.
And
So
you said you were only married 6 months and you made this?
Well, I barely was, 3 months went by after that, and it was just like, it was still in my head, and I just couldn't shake it. So I took off after that, about 9 months later.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So a short.
Yeah, very short. We didn't get divorced right away. That was, I got married in 78. 78? Oh, God, I'm old broad, right? And then, we stayed divorced for a while. I started traveling and, moved from one town to another and went to nursing school and all that stuff. And I divorced in 83. Yeah. Just before I got here in the U.S.
So wow. So you guys did stay married for quite some time.
Yeah, it was kind of difficult. It was kind of, we stay attached, but, not really. Yeah. So we went back and forth for a couple of times. And then, I decided to take a one plane ticket to here.
So you finished school over there. You got divorced before you came over?
Yeah, I came here in 81 and then stayed 7 months or so. And then I didn't like it. So I went back home, working over a couple of years. And then I just bought a one plane ticket.
And you said, that's it.
And I said, that's it. I'm done.
Have you been over in the U.S. since 83?
Nope. That was my 81 was my first trip to the U.S.
81 was
81.
the first trip. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I landed in San Diego, so.
That's not a bad place.
Yeah, that was not a bad place at all. But, it was very provincial, and it was a big city. It was, for me, a big city. I come from like a village of 350 people. Can you imagine? So it was complicated. And then, I had a man in my life, of course. What can you do? So it was complicated.
Yeah.
One of those. Yeah.
So then you ended up here. And when did your second marriage happen?
Well, with actually, it was really now it's impossible to come to the U.S. Obviously, when you're an immigrant. But and at the time, I came with a student, not a student, how do you call this? Just a visa, a tourist visa. Here we go. And at the time, they were like for 6 months or so. Yeah. And then, I liked it in 83. I was starting to have some fun and, I didn't want to go back. So this is when the second one came in place, My good friend decided, well, we got married. Yeah. So that's how it went.
Huh. And how long did you guys stay married?
Well, I think it was 83, 84, maybe 86.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like this, like 3 months after. Yeah. 3 years after, sorry.
3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And are you guys still friends?
Yeah, we stayed friends for a very long time. He married another woman, MD, and she was half French. Her father was French. Her mother was from Texas. So yeah, another French woman. He spoke French very well. He was an American man, but he had traveled a lot, and he was older than me, much older.
Huh.
And he spoke French very well. Yeah, cool guy.
Very nice.
Yeah. I probably could have stayed married with him, I guess. I even didn't think about it at that time. I just didn't. I was like, America, this is a pretty good life,
Yeah.
A lot of opportunities.
Yeah, definitely a lot of opportunities. So this is completely different than any of our other guests' experience in marriage. And so when you married when you were married the first time, you were very young.
Yeah, I was very young. Yeah.
And in the second time you married and you were changing your life completely.
Yeah, I was 27.
And then you stepped out of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happened?
When I had a lot of fun. A lot of happy hours, a lot of fun, a lot of traveling. And it was fun. And then, this is what we said a little earlier, what I said to you a little bit earlier, before this. Life is rich, I had a great life. So a lot of opportunities, a lot of fun. And so you meet people again and again, and it's almost impossible not to meet a new person that is, better adapted to what you want, right, for that day. So, I was explaining, it's really hard to be married like once. I'm like, wow, this is incredible. I don't know how you do that.
Just get married once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you say adapting. So you people change over time. So you think that you have a certain person for you at this period of your life and another person that may fit you better for the next period?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw my first husband, in 2011. I saw him and I'm like, oh, what the heck? No way.
Really?
I mean, he's still a cool guy and everything, but we have nothing in common because my experiences are so different than his, right?
And so, is he still in France?
Yeah, he's still in France, and he's still the, very provincial life and so on. And I'm out of it. I'm just totally out of it. So I don't know how you do that.
Yeah,
I just don't. Then in the U.S., I had so many. When I came to the U.S., he was really something. 27. I was the blondie, pretty good looking. French.
You got a lot of attention.
I had a lot of attention. Yeah. So I used it. What can I say?
No, good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
then when did you end up meeting your third husband?
Happy hour.
Happy hour, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And how
1991.
So it was a few years later.
Mm-hmm. A lot of years after. Yeah.
Yeah. And now, was he completely different than your previous husbands?
Yeah, he was a businessman.
Completely different then, yeah.
Yeah, completely different. I have no idea what happened.
So how long did that last?
11 years.
No, that's a long time.
That's a long time.
And he was an American.
Yeah, he was an American from San Francisco. Mm-hmm.
And then you
successful businessman.
Yep.
So, I ended up to have a grand life. Mm-hmm.
Well, so how is it different that you ended up staying? What was it about this relationship that kept your interest for so long?
I had a son.
Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the deal. Yeah. So it's very different.
Yeah. Children change.
Children change, I mean, I had a grand life, I lived in a very nice place, I had a nice car. I traveled all over the place, never with him because he was too busy. So my son and I, we just kind of travel the world. So that's what we did.
It sounds like you've always been extremely independent.
Yeah. I was always very independent. Yeah. And opportunities are giving me the chance to be independent too. I mean, a lot of people want to be independent, but they just can't do it because money, not the job that offers opportunities to be independent, all that stuff.
Well, so, what happened 11 years later that you decided it was time? Was it you who decided or your husband?
No, I decided. I had decided a long time ago before that.
And did you just stay to a certain point of your son's age or?
Yes, I just, I had lost myself for a little while, I was not working for a long time. I didn't work for 11 years.
Right.
So I kind of lost foot on the ground. My feet were kind of floating. I was not quite sure if I could do it on my own. So I had lost a lot of certainty and, yeah. But I went to school, I had the chance to go to school, finish my degree. So I'm glad that I did that.
Yeah. And you did that while you were married?
Yes.
So when you're in relationships now, what are you looking for in those relationships? I mean, would you ever get married again? And how is your how has your 3 marriages changed your perception?
Well, first of all, I'm not quite sure why I got married ever. I'm not really sure. It just kind of sounded good at the time, but I'm not really sure what that meant. Yeah. So I'm not really sure if I don't think it has anything to do with the next or the next or the next. I don't think so. No.
Well, when you were married the first time, did you think you were doing it because you were in love, or did you have a different idea then?
Well, we kind of got caught in some kind of a game. We were, I think we were in love. Yes, that's true. And then, my brother was getting married too, my oldest brother.
Right.
So we were kind of, well, why don't you guys do it at the same time? So, one shot and, 2 birds.
Did you guys get married at the same time?
Yeah, the same day.
Wow.
What?
Yeah.
There's this double wedding?
Double wedding, yeah.
Okay, so maybe...
But
wow.
totally different, all right? Because I didn't go to church, and him either. He was a Protestant. Do you understand Protestant?
Yes.
Yeah.
He was a Protestant, so we didn't go to church. My brother doesn't go to church, but his wife was a Catholic, so they did a church wedding. So we just showed up to the church with them, but we didn't do anything.
Did you?
We just we sat there.
And that's how you got married?
Well, in France, you don't get married at the church. It doesn't count.
Oh.
Only you have to go in the front of a government person.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not realize.
When you go to church, it doesn't count. Because, in France, the state and the church doesn't exist. It's totally separated. So we don't do that.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Did you know that, boyfriend?
I heard of it, but not to that extent.
Yeah, it's totally, it doesn't exist.
Good for the French.
Yeah, he just has given us a lot of freedom for women anyway. Yeah.
How is it given more freedom, you think?
Well, because right now, now our employers are not going to be paying for birth control.
Right.
Because of religious issues. For us, that doesn't exist. Never did. It doesn't exist. We don't have to go through any of that. When I was a kid, women were already going to have abortions when they felt like it.
Because the state...
No question asked.
Because they never interfered with your choice.
No. After World War II, all that church thing went...
But it's a national health system, so it's just paid for. It's government.
Exactly.
Time. Yeah.
Right.
No choice. No question.
No
just
question
done.
asked. Yeah. No. We do whatever we want to do. Yeah.
Right.
No church involvement. Thank God.
Okay. So knowing that those are significant differences. So number one, your age was part of the difference. Getting married then, there was family pressure. I think, I think at that age, at any time, like I know all my friends were starting to get married really young, and it just seems like that's the next step. That's what you should be doing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you were living in a different country. So now you're in a completely different culture.
Yeah.
And you're obviously not the same age you were.
Right.
Then. Mm-hmm. And so there's like that, those are significant things that have changed in your life.
Yeah.
So you probably look back on it with a different thought process, and then your future the same way. Because
it's like I lived like so many lives.
Yeah.
So they don't look alike. None of them look alike. So it's not a continuity. It's just like something new.
Right.
I don't know how to explain that, but every decade is totally different.
How is a divorce experience different in France than it is in the United States?
Well, first of all, in France, because of a religion thing, people mainly they don't get married anymore. They call this a pact. So it's a contract between two people. It's a legal contract, but not a marriage. So people don't get married. In France, there is very little people who get married those days. Nobody gets married. My brother is not married. My youngest one, he's on a pact with his girlfriend. They have a daughter. Before that, he was in another pact with another girl, and he had 2 daughters. And it's just like that.
Huh.
Yeah.
Now, are the pacts renewed? Like, can you get a pact for 7 years, and then at the end of that time frame, renew it? Like you get options on the end of a lease? Like
it's kind of like that, yeah. I mean, if you don't like it anymore, you just go in front of, the court, and then you just undo the pact. That's it.
What's the benefit of a pact?
Benefits of a pact is financial.
Yeah.
Because the pact is recognized like a marriage, so you have all the taxes benefits of a marriage, and the children too. The children are protected. Obviously.
Right.
So if you break your pact and you have a kid, then, you pay child support like everybody else. So that's a protection of the children. Mm-hmm.
Sounds like the French are a little...
more progressive.
Progressive and potentially better than what we have over here with all of the... So what's the... I don't know, you probably don't know the answer to this, but I'm curious if there's a increase in pact dissolutions than divorces, because that's basically what it is in a way.
Yeah.
Do you have as many of them over there?
I do not know about that, but the drama is different.
Yeah. There's no drama.
There's no drama.
It's done. This is the end of the contract, and we move on.
It's a personal drama, but it's not a societal drama.
Yeah.
Here it's a societal drama. It's just like, wow, she's getting divorced.
And there's shame and judgment associated with it.
So it's just very different. I like it. I think
I like it too.
Yeah, I think they have a cool thing going.
It sounds like they have a great thing. Yeah. Like they figured out what's working and what's not working in our current society and adjusted.
Yeah, I think it just the illusion of anyway for me, the illusion of marriage is kind of a box and you can never get out of it, and so I would rather have a pact, because you don't take the name of the other person, you don't change anything. It's just a pact.
Right.
I love you, love me. Okay, let's just do this. But it's not like, so official.
So that's okay. What you said was interesting because you mentioned before that you felt like you were losing yourself in your other marriages. And whereas with a pact, you're not giving up your identity. Yeah. And you're not taking on a new identity or a new name or something associated. Do you think that has, how do you feel like that has an effect on people? Like, I'm not giving up everything?
Well, I think so. I mean, it just depends on your personality, obviously. But when you deal with a personality like mine, it gets complicated, I don't want to change my name. Why should I do that? I don't want to have a ring in my finger. Why should I do that? All those things that are like, It's
ingrained tradition.
ingrained tradition,
Yeah.
propriety. You know, you are kind of you own me or I own you,
Right.
and I don't have that, and I don't know where that comes from because I come from a very traditional family. You know, my grandparents were married for like 60 years until they passed. My parents were married like 55 years until they passed. You know, so it's a very traditional family,
Right.
and I'm not like that. And my brother either, the brother after me.
Did you sense it early on, or do you think your experiences have pushed you? Well, not pushed you, but experiences have made you this way, where you don't feel like you're that way. Do you feel? Did you? So in your first marriage, did you feel like you were going to go down the path of your parents, or were you just like uncomfortable with it from the get go?
From the get go,
Yeah.
you know, he was just like, you know, I was following the society rules of where I come from, but I don't come from there. I don't know where the hell I come from. You know, that's the thing. You know, it's just like at 16, I was like, I don't want to be like my mom. You know, I don't want to be like those women or my girlfriends. I don't want to do that. So, you know, it was a lot of rebellions, but then at the same time, because he was so, the tradition were very strong. And so I tried. I tried, it just didn't work for me, you know. Yeah, it still doesn't work for me at all. Yeah. So.
What about regular relationships? How are those, do you know, society, and I think we always think in our society today is that when you start dating and you narrow it down to the certain person and you start dating that person for a while, like the society's expectations are your next step is to get married and then to have children and then to, like, it's a natural progression, right?
Yeah.
But not often in today's society, maybe more recently than before, people are okay with people dating multiple partners and doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you think that that's more of the direction things are headed? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you know, I think it just depends on your background, you know, it just depends on, you know, all your experiences and so on. Some people, they really like to be safe, you know, and I think it brings like safety, you know, to be with the same partner all the time and things like that. So there's a lot of safety into it. And I think, again, there is a lot of economics that comes into those relationships, you know, as well. You know, those days, or anyway, I have to speak only for me, but, you know, I have a financial independence. So I don't need a man in my life if I don't feel like it. You know, I like it, but I don't have to have it. And that's a big difference, you know. At the time, you know, I'm 60-some. So, you know, at the time, the man still was bread earners and so on. And I can see this even in my third marriage, you know. Yeah, it was pretty cool, you know. I didn't have to work. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah. Well, I think as much as what I'm hearing is you don't need a financial partner to take care of you financially. And a lot of people may feel that that's safe to have a partner who's financially stable. But at the same time that the financially stable part plays in it, by not having a monogamous partner or something, is it possible that someone's finding it safer emotionally to not have that attachment? You know, the opposite.
Yeah.
But based on emotion.
Yeah. Well, this is a tough question. You know, I don't even know how to go there. You know, I'm kind of following like a Buddhism philosophy. You know, I don't belong to you, you don't belong to me, kind of thing. But I can see the reverse of that situation as well. You know, there is an unpredictable kind of a situation. It's just very different, and I'm not really sure. You know, I'm still learning, so I don't know. You know, where I'm at anyway in my lifetime now is just if something fits, and that's good. But if it's doesn't fit even a little, I don't need it.
Right.
That's a good space to be in, because you have the choice, and you're not you don't it's not that you need it. You're looking for what you want and what works.
Yeah.
And you don't have to put up with things you don't want to put up with.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not a bad thing.
No, it's not a bad thing.
No.
It's just, again, as society is, sometimes it's looked at like, I may look like frivolous or whatever they call it. But it's not really like that. It's just what it is, And
right? If you're happy with what it is,
mm-hmm.
then you shouldn't have to worry about what everybody else is thinking because it works for you.
Well, that's true. It just, sometimes with this kind of ideas, you end up to create a personality that you may not want all the time.
What parts of it do you think that you would want to get rid of? What would make it hard? What makes it hard for you to have your independence in this way?
It makes it hard because you just don't fit most of the time. You just don't fit.
You mean with other partners?
With other partners, or you don't fit in the couple scene kind of thing. And you can be seen like, a loner, somebody who doesn't want to be bothered. And it's not really like that. It's just different. But it's not really like that. I like a hug, I like to have a warm body in my bed as well. But it's just a little bit different, yeah. So I think I have to be careful. I have to be careful about not passing some limits.
What do you mean by passing some limits?
Passing some limits, like because some men, they don't really like that, and they don't, and I understand that. So you got to be careful. So sometimes you just cannot go there. You just cannot have this. I would like to have this man, but I know this is not going to fit his lifestyle.
Yeah, because he finds the traditional setup of a relationship or the traditional roles of a relationship, which don't fit what you're looking for. Mm-hmm. So therefore, there's an incompatibility.
There's an incompatibility.
Because you're looking for, this is probably a bad word, but boundaries. There's certain things that you're expecting and want in a relationship, and certain things you don't want to be crossed. And traditional roles, that's not how it is.
Yeah.
So that can make it difficult. Yeah.
I'm much more at ease with untraditional relationship than the traditional one.
Do you find too, age comes into play. So like when you're younger, I think when we're younger, we're more open to trying different things and changing our way, changing our thinking. But the older we get, it's harder to change our thinking. So when you date other people your age, do you find they're already so set in their ways that they're not open to trying something new?
That is really true, because they come from a different place that I come from.
Yeah.
They didn't have the same experience and all that stuff. So, I meet some very nice men, but I don't want to be their partners because it would be too difficult for me. I can be their partners for a little while, but, they're too traditional and I can't follow that.
You're like the temp.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good word.
Because it just popped into my mind.
Yeah. For example, I like to travel, right?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of a type like, okay, I'm leaving tomorrow. You ready? Oh, no. Okay, I'll see you in 2 weeks. And that doesn't fit a lot of guys that I meet.
Yeah.
They're like, what the hell is she thinking? So I come back and it's very complicated, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're very spontaneous.
Yeah, I'm very spontaneous. My brother is like that too.
Yeah. No, okay, if your brother is like that, is he still married?
He was never married, my brother after me.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have 3 brothers.
Okay.
Yeah. The oldest one is married still from,
way back.
1978.
Really?
Yeah. And me and my brother after me, the both of us were not married. Yeah. Everything's the same.
Has your younger brother had any success in his relationships then? And I shouldn't use the word success because that's personal as to what you did, but how does he feel about being this way? Is he having the same challenges or is it?
No, I think my little brother is like, he's happy with his pack, he's happy. He's much more traditional than the two of us in the middle. Yeah. We're the two rebels of the pack.
Well, the other rebel, how is he doing with his?
Oh, my brother is doing very well, but he could never keep a relationship either.
Yeah.
He's just like me.
Do you think it's easier for men to have that role? And because because
of course.
I think it's more
Of
common.
course. Yeah, it's much more common. I mean, he has a lot of permission that I don't have.
Right.
Specifically in France, where I come from. Yeah.
Societal permission.
Yes, societal permission that I don't have.
Right.
I'm light-footed, and he's having fun.
Do you think
it's very different?
Did you think that more men, looking at gender with this, is it more likely that you're to be judged by other women versus other men?
Well, women are complicated. Yeah.
Yes.
And I really don't fit the mold very well, as you know.
Yeah.
And it's nothing, it's just because I come from somewhere else, and my experience have been very different. I have had so many lives that started and ended and started again and ended. So I in France, I don't fit. Where I come from, I really never fitted there. So in the U.S., I fit much more.
Let me ask that, in France in general or in France in a small town? Because even small towns, they have different societal outlooks on.
Yeah.
I come from a small town, so I know that everyone knows everything and they're
of course,
always judging. And if you don't follow the tradition, then you're an outcast. So,
at 16, this is when I left home, 16, I decided this is just not for me. I got to go, and my parents were like, where are you going? Where is this broad coming from? Only girl. And I just didn't fit. I never did, in this kind of environment, very small environment. It was very difficult for me to, you have to remember that, my mom was World War II kid. Mm-hmm. And so I was born in the 50s, right? So I'm the first generation just after World War II. My generation were very revolutionary. We were, We had the pills, we were rock and rolling, we were married, getting divorced, We are the generation of French women that just made the country go forward, in a different way. So that has a lot of personal implications. And sometimes you just cannot stay there. And that's the reason why I came to the US. I was just fed up, I was trying to fit and I just couldn't fit.
What do you think your ideal place, like if you could build your world where you fit in and you completely belonged, what would that world look like?
I'm traditional, but I'm not really traditional. It's so controversial. So I'm not really sure how it looks like. I never found really, the best that I have found is where I am right now. And, but some days it still doesn't fit me. And I'm not really sure, if I will ever find something that really fits. I don't know.
Can I ask, I have a very interesting question. It's a little off topic, but you've been in the U.S. for quite a while now. How, and the roles of society or the outlook of society has changed in that time. Mm-hmm. Has the marriage and societal outlook on different relationships changed? Have you seen it change here in the U.S.?
No, I think it's still the same thing.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think it's still very traditional.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really do believe that. Yeah. I think it's because of the religious component.
So then, based on that statement, but previously you just said you found the place where you're at right now fits you best. Mm-hmm. How does those two?
Because I'm single.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So you mean the place that you're at personally fits you best, but not necessarily in the environment around you?
No, I mean, my environment is my environment. You know, I cannot change that. But I can decide on how I can fit in that environment the best I can. And that's what I do, you know. But that always comes with age, you know, with time. And it's not always the best. It just depends, you know.
So do you think it's more like you're the best most comfortable you've been because your age and experience has told you to find comfort as as a unique person. Like you're finding more comfort in yourself being different, more so than you're finding comfort in the world
definitely
around you.
Yeah, definitely. And the US has brought me a lot of things, a lot of things. And I was always special here. And I'm special in France too now. Because when I go back, I'm special. Oh, she's the American girl. In my village, they call me the American. So so now I'm special in two places.
Because you're different.
Because I'm different, yeah. Yeah. So it's something that, I created without knowing. It just, I didn't know. But it's created for sure. It's created for sure, yeah.
Well, what would you say to another person who may be going through their first divorce or just beginning this journey and trying to find out what works for them? What would be your piece of advice?
Wow. That's so complicated, right? I think you just need to stay true. And if it doesn't fit, you just got to go. You just got to go. I mean, life is just a bunch of experiences, and you cannot stop your experiences just because, you may be married or something, And this is the glitch in this whole thing, is that it seems that when you get married or you're in a serious relationship, a lot of other things just stop. Because you're not, society, or most of the time your partner doesn't let you explore more. And so I'm like, continue to explore. It's okay, And even if you're married 5 times, it's probably because that's the way it's supposed to be, just another experience. So, it's, but again, it's most of the time we don't suffer because of a personal thing. It's like we apply a lot of societal rules to it. And that makes you really miserable, For us, we bounce back, right? Women were strong, men too, boyfriend. Right?
It's true.
So we bounce back. But society puts a lot of stigma on it.
Yeah, it does.
And that's the trick.
No, it makes a lot of sense. Just be true to yourself and pay attention to what's going on inside versus what everybody else is worried about.
Yeah. And that doesn't, you can become a pariah, for the area. So you just have maybe some time to pack your bag and just go somewhere else. Right?
Yeah.
So what's next?
I don't know. I'll open my door tomorrow morning and see what's up. I have no idea.
Well, this has been really, really interesting. And no, seriously, because you have a completely different perspective on divorce and relationships and what it means. Mm. And so this is something coming from a totally different place that we haven't really talked about.
Right. And it's like, from your perspective, it's been positive. Their experiences, you've taken them in and you've learned from them and you moved on.
Yeah.
And you continue to seek out new experiences and live life.
Yeah.
Which, unfortunately, some people that have gone through divorce, they feel like it's all over instead of looking at it as what's next.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, you do have a unique perspective on it. And I think it's super helpful to hear that, because it's something that we're not always consciously tapping into that side of it.
Mm-hmm.
So we're focused on so many externals.
Yeah. But I think it's also because I come from somewhere else too. You see, I'm very privileged, because I had the chance to belong to 2 different worlds,
Yeah.
Here and the other side of the Atlantic. And it's very different, Relationship looks very different up there. It's just very different. The way you feel and so on is different. That's how the French are, right?
Well, we really appreciate you coming by and sharing this with us. And,
I was happy.
And your whole divorce journey with all of our listeners. I'm sure they're going to really appreciate it. So thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. Thank you.